I had almost forgotten how much I missed this show. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. With the return of Doctor Who in 2005 with the series premiere Rose, Russell T Davies ushered in a brand new era of Doctor Who and brought the show to amazing new heights. It's hard to understate all of the things that Davies did exactly right with this return to form. The first and most important thing he did was made it not a reboot, a restart, but instead a continuation honoring the history of the show. But he did that in a surprisingly smart way. He presented it as a show accessible to its longtime fans, but more importantly, accessible to an entire new audience. And to that end, the first and most important thing he did was centered this first episode entirely around the new companion, Rose. And he made Rose a British young everywoman, a shop girl that virtually any British citizen, certainly in the target demographic, would readily recognize and empathize with. And to that end, casting teen pop sensation Billie Piper was a very smart move with, again, a very surprising upside. It turns out that Billie Piper had way more acting chops than anyone ever would have suspected in 2005. By grounding the first episode around Rose and her family, her boyfriend, her workaday world, it gives an entry point to the audience that needs to know absolutely nothing about the series. Everything they need to know gets doled out over the course of 45 minutes. And while yes, there is a great deal of exposition, Russell T Davies masterfully weaves that information into organic dialogue. There's a particularly great sequence about 15 minutes in when Rose is walking with the Doctor across town trying to find out who he is and what his whole deal is. And rather than giving some big textual info dump, Christopher Eccleston is given the first great monologue of the new Doctor Who era, in which he talks about how he can feel the rotation of the Earth. He can feel the planet hurling through space. He can feel the entire universe moving around him, and that's who he is. And in that moment, without having to bother with exposition about Time Lords and Gallifrey and any of that other fan minutia, Russell T Davies gets to the core of who the Doctor is. It's just a great sequence. The next smart thing that Russell T Davies does with this story is he brings in an old enemy without dwelling on the fact that they're an old enemy. It's the Autons. It makes sense. They work here for the same reason they worked in Spearhead from Space, the story that launched Doctor Who into the color era 35 years earlier. But again, Davies does the smart thing and doesn't belabor the point of who they are or what their history is. It's just living plastic, and in fact they're never even named throughout the entirety of this story. Only the controlling force, the Nestine consciousness. The Autons themselves are not named aside from in the closing credits, there for the fans to recognize. And Davies specifically uses the Autons because they're almost human. The awakening shop dummies and mannequins marauding through London at the climax of the story are a perfect human alien threat that don't require too much suspension of disbelief. I mean, yeah, living plastic. But it's not little green men with ray guns. It's just mannequins marauding through town. A classic childhood nightmare. And the final brilliant thing that Russell T Davies did here was the casting of Christopher Eccleston in the role of the Ninth Doctor. He is perfect for the moment. He is exactly what the series needed. He is unlike any previous Doctors, while at the same time unmistakably being the Doctor. It's a crime that he only worked one season, and there's loads of stories of why that happened, and I'm sure I'll get to that over the course of the next 2 weeks. But the fact remains that Eccleston's portrayal of the Doctor, his mercurial shifts between childlike gleefulness and steely, dark demeanor, are perfectly executed and make him so totally enjoyable in the role. This right here is a masterclass on how you bring an old property back to life, give it a new shine, respect the fan base, but make it accessible to new viewers, and tee it up for the massive success it's about to come. Davies knows that he has an entire series ahead of him that he can lay out more of the backstory he needs to unveil. He's comfortable with feeding just enough information in this first episode to get everyone interested and excited and engaged. And so with that, my journey in NuWho begins, and I've got another 12 days to spend with Christopher Eccleston before his untimely departure. And I am looking forward to every single one of them. I'll see you tomorrow.